Hi, and thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Jacqueline.
And I'm your host, Nicole. You're listening to the second season of Perfictionist.
Welcome to Books and Bevvies. This is a series where we talk about all things books and enjoy some delicious libations.
We did not have a prepared drink for this episode. I have a standard glass of water because hydration is key.
Hydration is key. I have a cup of tea, and this is an incredible flavor. I am wondering if you have discovered this flavor. It is peppermint and creamy vanilla by Twinings.
I have that upstairs.
Yes.
In my cupboard.
My friend Danny brought this out on our last camping trip, and I had to immediately order it online. I couldn't find it in town.
That would be like a delicious treat for camping because it has that like peppermint, but it has that creaminess to it.
It's so nice because I've had other tea that has vanilla in it, or well, in the title anyway. Yeah. And it tastes so chemically, but this one isn't like that.
No, it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
I'm a little jealous now.
No. In this episode, we're going to talk about what we're currently reading or have read currently. I finished a couple of thrillers recently, kind of similar to one another in the way that they're more set either in or near the wilderness. The first one I'll talk about is called The River at Night by Erica Ferenchik.
That sounds very interesting. Like the title itself is very intriguing.
Yes. And the cover is kind of cool. It's all like, it's almost like the title is being swallowed up by like water bubbles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And after having read it, it's very appropriate. It was really interesting. I wasn't a huge fan of the main character at first, but she grew on me. And there was a part in that book that made me gasp.
Ooh, I love it when books have an audible.
Yes. My husband was even like, what's going on? Because I was like, oh, wow. Yeah.
And it doesn't happen very often, at least for myself, that a book will make me have a out loud reaction. Like I often will be like kind of like screaming inside or crying inside, but for it to come outward and for you just to like not be able to hold it back. It's like something happened there.
Yeah, this was like a full-on gasp, like hands clapping over the mouth, like just, I can't believe what I've just read kind of reaction. And
was it like a twist near the end or?
No. It was, I just don't want to give anything away, but it was kind of almost, I almost want to say it was like an inciting incident, sort of. It was very like, it added so much. Okay, so how do I put this? It added so much additional risk to the whole situation.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of a like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do now? Kind of thing. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
Thrillers get you like that, though. Like, that's their whole thing, right? They like, there's something happens and you're just like, now what are you going to do?
Yes, exactly. And so I enjoyed the thrill it gave me. It took me a very short period of time to read it because I was hooked, especially after that moment I just mentioned. Like, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, I'll put it down. But this is really interesting. I'm looking forward to reading my book at night. And then once I kind of got to that part, I was like, I must finish this book regardless of what time of day it is, kind of thing.
Oh, again, not very many books do that to me either. I'm definitely like, I will be in the middle of a sentence and be like, yes. I need to go to the bathroom. Yes. I need to get a drink of water. Like, I can lose my attention unfortunately very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So like if a
Yeah.
book is like, not only like, are you finishing the entire chapter? Whoa, you go. I like to then to be like, no, this book needs to be done
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah. And the other book I read recently is called, it was actually done by a Canadian author, actually an author who lives very close to me. And it's called The Almost Widow by Gail Anderson Dargatz. And it's set in Canada, in a, I believe, fictional town called Mosstown. In the synopsis, it talks about how it's set in a town that is in a temperate rainforest. So I want to say that would be similar vibes as Revelstoke in British Columbia, because that's a temperate
Oh,
rainforest, inland
beautiful
rainforest.
area.
Mm-hmm. The main character, her name is Piper, and she's very very passionate about not logging ancient cedars. So and this book kind of has like a little bit of like wood poaching in it, kind of mystery, kind of. I think Gail might have taken some inspiration from the Shuswap Bushman. Do you remember hearing about that? The Shuswap Bushman?
I don't know.
Okay, so if you look it up, there's like all these news articles, and he did pass away like a few years ago, but he was a man living in the bush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think that was an influence in this story. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really interesting story, and I would definitely recommend giving it a read.
Oh, I think I know someone who would love that story. Alex's mom, I think, would, unless it gets like too creepy or spooky at any
Mm-mm.
part. No?
I
Okay.
did not find it to be, mind you, I really like thrillers and I like being scared a little bit. I mean, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like being horrified necessarily.
Yeah.
But one of my, I would say, favorite genres is thriller. So it's not super scary, and it's not like graphic or anything like that. It's just like I want to say sort of a high intensity mystery.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
think I might have to pick that up as a gift for someone who's hopefully not
Yes.
listening. I know she
Yeah.
does sometimes listen. So if you're listening, pretend you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's cool because it is set in Canada. You don't often run across books that are set in Canada. At least I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's nice. I follow some smaller kind of indie accounts, like book accounts that are based out of Canada. So I feel like when you do that, you get more recommendations that are
mhm.
Canadian.
Yeah,
But
that
as
makes
a
sense.
general,
Yeah.
uh, like general book community, I would say
Yeah.
is not very Canadian forward.
No, it's yeah, it's really interesting just thinking about that. I was actually like I read online that apparently Canadian authors, I was on Threads, and
Mhm.
apparently Canadian authors kind of struggle a bit. And anyone who's listening, please correct me if I'm wrong or if I misunderstood somehow, but kind of seems to me like the shipping from Canada, if you're a Canadian author to the States, is very cost prohibitive. So
Oh,
yeah, so I don't know if it maybe depends on if if you're a Canadian author who is then published by a Canadian company, if that is almost a bit restrictive when it comes to reaching a larger audience. It's like huge audience down in the States. And, shipping, if it's super expensive, a lot of people are not going to want to do that.
and if your book is more expensive in the bookstore than other books, then somebody might choose to buy a similar book that is
Hmm.
not as pricey because it's come from Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so interesting.
It is super interesting. And again, like if anyone's listening and I'm wrong, I would love to be corrected because I want to know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just what I was reading on Threads, other authors' experiences
Mm-hmm.
and the feedback that they were being given in the thread. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's really cool. Like, it's not cool that it's happening, but it's cool to have that information.
Well, yeah, it's something I never would have considered or thought of. So,
No, not at all. But yeah, I guess it is something if you are planning on writing a book or, well, yeah, I guess writing a book,
Yeah.
something to consider.
Yeah, even if you're just self-publishing, like it, I don't know, that's really helpful information, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a whole nother world if you would like to actually delve into like the writing side of books as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just enjoying reading them. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to learn a skill set.
Yeah. 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 A whole bunch of skill sets.
Yeah.
So what have you been reading recently?
Uh, I have been mostly listening to audiobooks. I did recently read, like recently as in the last month, a
Mm-hmm.
couple physical books. I did finish A Court of Thorns and Roses, just the first book. And
Just pains me. It pains me that you stopped there.
I just unfortunately didn't have time. And I did enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. And I found I was like, when the beginning of it, I was like, I love this book. This is amazing. This is incredible. And like my sister, I mentioned, is also reading the series. She's on
Yeah.
book 2. So I still have a
Yes.
chance of catching up to her. But we're both just like going at a snail's pace.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she was like, she didn't love it. She was like, yeah, it was good, but like she wasn't giving it like ringing endorsements kind of thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is amazing. And then I kind of got to like not just after the middle, like maybe the third quarter of it. And I was like, it kind of really slows down there, in my opinion. And then the ending hit you, and I was like, oh, okay. I feel like you needed that lull. Like at first when I was reading it, I was like, oh, it's like getting kind of slow. Like, come on, let's get to it. But then afterwards, I was like, okay, we needed that breath. We needed to take a breath because what hits you after that, you're like, okay, yes, I just needed a calm because the storm hit.
Because
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's like at the end, it's
Yeah.
moving. Yeah.
It is moving and there's
Yeah.
so much going on and there's so many emotions that you're feeling
Yes.
because of people's, you know, what they're doing. And I don't know. If you know, then you know. But
I
if
feel like
you
most people know at this
I
point.
think I'm the only one who didn't know until now. But if for some reason you have not read A Court of Thorns and Roses and you kind of are hitting that part where you're just like, oh, it feels like it's dragging a little bit. It's just giving you a breath. Just take that breath, accept that breath, be grateful for it because what is coming is amazing, but not much breath.
Yeah, no breathing.
No breathing allowed.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait until you read the second one.
But I know I know the big twist at the end of the second one.
Well,
So I think I know the big twist at the end of the second one.
Yeah, but that's not why it's good though.
Okay. And you did say it kind of gets better. It gets better from here.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I still think my prediction is that I'm going to like the Throne of Glass series as a whole more.
Oh, yes.
And I can say I liked Throne of Glass, the novel, more than A Court of Thorns and Roses, the novel.
Oh, that's so interesting.
But maybe because I read it first.
You know what?
Sometimes your first love, you know?
Yeah, I get it. But like, okay, so that it's so interesting. It just like occurred to me. I'm like,
you're like, I'm baffled.
Well, no, I'm just like, I don't like take books and compare them like that. Like, I like this one better than this one. It like I have to really dislike a book to be like, I like this one better than this one. And like I didn't dislike any of Sarah J. Maas's books. Throne of Glass, though, I have to say, is so epic. That is such an epic series. It's still to this day one of the best series I've read.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like if I had to compare like what you just did, like I mean, I agree.
You don't disagree.
No, but like I was like, oh, I've actually never thought which series like do I like better. I think both of them, but Throne of Glass is just so, oh man, like it almost feels like Sarah's a genius, like when you're reading that, you know?
I miss that world. There'll be days where I'm just like, I wonder what they're up to. Like, you know, it's like,
yeah.
it's just like this thought in your brain will just like kind of intrusively come in and you're just like, I just want to be back in that world.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, I totally get it. And I know a lot of people feel that way about A Court of Thorns and Roses, that world.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
Prithian.
I might feel the exact same way once I finish the series and might have that. But I think
Mhm.
it's because they're both Sarah J. Maas series that like I just instinctively kind of was like, oh, which one do I like better?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Did you see the message I sent you today, the edit of Throne of Glass I found?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. It
was
is so
that not?
gorgeous.
Oh,
I'm like, these
just like
people.
mic drop almost. Like
Well, because I like found
all those
all these different
clips.
clips from different movies
I feel
that
like
could also work
some of them
with
were
Throne of
from
Glass.
games and movies, but like
Mm-hmm.
combined together in such a way that it was so seamless. Why isn't it like I really want HBO to do Throne of Glass or something. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like just
Well, and like Bad News Bears, I don't even know if ACOTAR is now being turned into a series. I feel like that's being put on pause.
so I read an article where there was this thing going around that it was like put on pause, but then that was debunked.
Oh,
So
okay, good.
but
I was like heartbroken. I was like,
I know.
no.
I know. If you, so the title of that article was actually really misleading because if you actually clicked through to it and read like the whole article, it
Mhm.
wasn't what the title said. I think it was almost clickbait, but maybe something's changed since then again. I'm honestly like so over monitoring that. I'm like, it either will or it won't. And if
Yeah.
it is, I'll be super happy or
Or
dismayed.
terribly disappointed.
Yeah, like at first, like there's so many people who say it should be animated. Oh my gosh, we should almost do an episode talking about this. This should be animated or not, but we have
Well,
to wait till you finish
once I
the book.
finish the series,
The
we'll definitely
series.
do many episodes about it, I'm sure.
Yes, I have a whole bunch of episodes lined up for that. Here's another. We could do like, should the show be animated or not? Because this is a
I love
huge
that.
debate within the fan community. And at first, like I was really repulsed by the idea that it would be animated because I felt like that would give it something juvenile. But then my husband, who is an avid consumer of TV, he had on, I can't even remember the name of it. This is how like so uninterested in TV I am. But he was watching this show and it was animated an adult animation thing. And because I was writing on the couch next to him and I would keep getting distracted and watching the show because it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to think, okay, I see where these people are coming from because so it's really hard to find an actor or actress, or I guess actor, whose voice matches like the whole situation, but also their physical features.
Yes.
And the only one that I know who's kind of like done that properly is Henry Cavill with Geralt.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how Geralt sounds in the game, right?
Yeah, but
And
we
he
can't
like
just keep using him for
no,
everything.
no,
Unfortunately.
but like his like dedication to also sounding like Geralt,
Mm-hmm.
probably because he is such a huge fan of the games.
Yes.
You're not going to get that from all the like other actors. He's kind of a special case because he's also a gamer and he's like passionate about that, right?
Yeah.
But like actors are not necessarily that way. Like I don't want to like mention any names, but there's this famous actor in Lord of the Rings who didn't even read the books, which to me is like a huge faux pas, blasphemy almost, if you're going to be acting in that production to not have read the source material.
Yeah.
And to me, that really came through when he was doing his part. And I remember feeling so disgusted. And then I looked it up. I was like, did he even read the books? Because there's like, and sure enough, he had not. So I was like, that came through.
Before knowing that is like a path that actors sometimes take, I always assumed they read all the source material because it seemed like what you would do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's surprisingly common for people not to.
Acting is their job, and who knows how many projects they have going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they, I get it. You can show up and be directed into how, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're an avid like fan of something and you just like, and I know fans can be like a little bit, you know, like woo when it comes to stuff.
A little bit.
But if you're, and I'm not even like a hardcore fan of Lord of the Rings. I'm like a moderately excited fan of Lord of the Rings, but enough to be like, when I could tell, I could just tell he hadn't read the source material. And that I was so disgusted. It almost writes him off for me as an actor.
Yeah. Take your craft seriously. No, I definitely look forward to reading the series, but also then discussing, because I think there'll be a lot to
looking
discuss.
forward to that season. And I think that you're going to be appalled with my enthusiasm.
I hope I'm right beside you with it. I hope I'm right alongside you.
Yeah.
I think I will be. I think I'm going to just like fall in love with it the more and more I read it. And I wonder if that's part of the reason I'm putting it off, is because I want to give it like the time and dedication, and I don't have time to like really get into books right now.
Yes.
So
that is exactly why, like, I know in a past episode I said I was reading House of Sky and Breath, and I was at that time. I had started it. I was like 4 pages in, and then I put it down. And it wasn't because it wasn't interesting. It was because I was like, I don't have the mental capacity for this right now, like to be able to fully immerse myself, like I know needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started seeing like all these reactions about the third book, and I was like, oh no, do we have another Iron Flame situation on our hands here?
Yeah, I like, hopefully not, but I feel like I got through Iron Flame and wasn't too mad about it. So I'm sure I'll be fine when I finally in 10 years get to that series.
Okay, so now that I've heard the feedback, because Crescent City 1, I was like blown away. That's one of my favorite books. But I've heard all of this like stuff about the 2 and 3. And so I'm like, okay, like I'll adjust my expectations, and maybe I will still then also be able to really enjoy it because I've adjusted my expectations. I don't know.
Sometimes it helps knowing like, okay, don't go into it thinking this is going to like completely blow your mind. Like it's just a book.
Yep.
Just a nice story.
Yes. Yes. So what else have you been reading?
The only other physical book I've read recently is Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I really enjoyed it. I'm really liking Ali Hazelwood's writing. I've only read 2 books so far. Was it Love Theoretically or Theoretical? I can't remember exactly the title.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bride. And both of them I really, really enjoyed. I just enjoy her wit and like her type of humor. Mm-hmm. I find it hilarious. And I know humor is very like subjective.
Right.
So for me,
are they written from like first person perspective?
I think so. I could be remembering wrong.
Is it like the main character's humor that you enjoy, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like the main characters kind of tend to be like, yeah, just witty and in the way that I think is witty. Other people might find it super cheesy or whatever, but yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's the main character's personality.
Oh, neat. I'll have to give her a try. I'm always looking for new authors.
I think you would really like Bride. It's her first like fantasy.
Cool.
And you have like vampire, werewolf, and humans, and they're kind of feuding, and it's like sort of their different ploys to create harmony amongst the factions, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So it's specifically like how they choose to go about making sure that another faction doesn't like hurt them.
Is it set in modern day, or?
Yeah, it seems to be set in modern day.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely give that a look. I love like fantasy / paranormal romance / well, it doesn't even have to have romance, paranormal.
Yeah. This definitely has romance. And one of the big things about it was everyone was talking about how much detail the book goes into in regards to how certain species I don't even know the word.
Let's just say intermingle.
How they intermingle in an intimate way.
Cohabitation.
And yeah. And I was expecting something like really weird. And I was just like, oh, okay, that checks out.
This is fine.
Yeah, that seems fine. I could see that being a thing.
Right.
It's certainly not how humans. But
do you mean like, for example, like werewolves and vampires, like getting together?
Yeah.
And okay, so all right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to say something that was very not PG-13, so I'm just not going to say it.
Yeah.
But so Cressley Cole, okay? Like going back down the Cressley Cole train here, the Immortals After Dark. There's lots of that.
Yeah.
Lots of that cross-species stuff. So,
well, now I have to read that to see if they do it in the same way. Does everyone have a unique way that they bring these interspecies minglings together? Or is there like a set way in which it's done?
Okay.
Is there an established...
So they definitely have different like ways, and each species has their own like thing. I just don't want to spoil anything for you. But like, like the Lycae, which are kind of like werewolves, but like Cressley's spin on it, which is like very different and very cool. Haven't heard of anyone else doing it like her. I think I can say this without it being a spoiler. They love it if the woman, or female, I should say, runs away from them.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like, it just makes me like laugh to talk about it aloud. Because
it's like their predatory instinct,
their prey drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about their prey drive like they're like a dog or like a wolf.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then is it the demons? I feel like it's the demons. I might have to be corrected. It's been a while since I read that series. The way they find their like fated mate is to test out females.
Oh, just,
they won't
give it a
know
try
until they've tested them. That's the like most polite way I can say it.
I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
At least I think I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you don't buy a car without testing it.
True. That's true.
I just hope that the car is also wanting to be tested.
Yes. I mean, that doesn't seem to be an issue. So.
Then I think it's all fine.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So outside of that, I've mostly been listening to audiobooks, and currently I'm listening to one called Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, and it is really interesting. It's like a Rumpelstiltskin-esque fractured fairy tale, so it's like a retelling of it. So it's not the actual story of Rumpelstiltskin. It's like inspired by, I guess, more. And yeah, it's really interesting.
Cool.
I'm only 45% of the way through. I think I have like almost 10 hours left. It's like a massive book, and it's due back in 2 days.
10 hours left?
Maybe 9. I'm listening to it on like 1.75, so I am going through it faster than like the allotted time left.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to actually finish this before it automatically sends it back to the ether.
Oh, shoot.
So I already put a hold on it again so that I can finish listening to it. But my new hold is now 14 weeks away.
Oh, no.
So if I don't finish it, I'll have to wait 14 weeks until maximum until I'm able to listen to the ending. It's really, really, really good. Like, it's getting good, but it has so many different perspectives. And I don't know if it's because I'm listening to the audiobook and I don't have the physical book in front of me, but I'm like, have no idea what perspective I'm on until like several sentences in where I'm like, oh, okay, we're on this character now. Because it's not like it's telling me what character, where I'm assuming if you're in the book, it would have a little title telling you what character you're about to start reading.
Right.
Whereas in the audiobook, it's just, she's just reading. And I'm like, there's not really too much differentiation between the voices of the characters.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, who are we talking about?
Oh, sometimes what they do in audiobooks, and maybe it depends on the author or publisher. I have no idea. But sometimes what they'll do is they'll be like, so-and-so. And then they start reading that perspective. And it's like, they just state their name and then they start reading the perspective.
I would appreciate that because when I'm listening to an audiobook, I am doing other things, which is why I'm doing audiobooks so much recently is because I can do it while I'm getting ready for work and stuff. So when your mind is kind of half focused on something else, you need it laid out for you sometimes.
Absolutely. I completely and 100% agree. Because you're standing there like, wait, who?
Yeah. Yeah, and then you paused, and all of a sudden you're not getting ready anymore.
Yeah,
And you're
this
like,
is
what's
no
going
longer
on?
efficient.
Yeah. But it's really good. And it only takes me a couple like seconds to figure out where we are in the story. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of starting to like mingle a little bit, like the perspectives. I'm like, ooh, it's getting so good. And I need to finish it before it has to go back.
Disappears into the ether.
Yes.
It's gone into the electronic abyss. So I am looking forward to reading. I have quite a few I'm looking forward to reading, actually. And they're all thrillers.
You were in your thriller.
I'm in my thriller
era.
zone. Thriller zone. So one of them I'm looking forward to reading is called The Silent Ones by K.L. Slater. And another I'm looking forward to reading is called Out of the Wild. Actually, I've started that one. It is yet another wilderness survival thriller by Jack Hunt, which is a really fitting name considering he's doing like a survival wilderness thriller. Wilderness survival thriller. So that was Out of the Wild by Jack Hunt. The Silent Ones by K.L. Slater, and Intensity by Dean Koontz.
Ooh, what's that about?
I actually don't even know. Sounds
I mean,
intense.
the name itself is. Oh,
oh, and there's even one more called Amok by, I think this is how you pronounce his name, Barry Eisler. And that is more of like a spycraft novel. And it's written by, from what I understand, he seems to be retired CIA operative. So
that would be interesting.
He knows what he's talking about, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna get the inside scoop.
Yes. I started that one too, and it starts off like very action-packed, so yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Do you normally, like, because you had previously said you just like will see a title and be like interested in it. How did you find these books?
I honestly was just on Amazon and I was looking up their thrillers and their top rated ones. And I was like, let's just read a few of the top rated ones. And then, so that's how I found the Intensity book by Dean Koontz. And then for the Amok, that was because I was looking at an agency website and I wanted to see what books they represented. And that caught my eye and the story caught my eye. So I thought, well, I'll check that one out. The other ones are because, again, I was on Amazon and I was looking up wilderness survival thrillers because I obviously love that type of thriller.
Yeah.
And those were some of the top ones. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
that's a good way to find something. It's just Amazon top reads.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes the like Goodreads top ones are just like almost like the overly popular ones.
Right. Yeah, it can be so tricky because sometimes like I've read like some Kindle Unlimited books that have like 25,000 reviews, and so many more people have read it than 25,000 because like I don't review books on like I generally don't. I will if it like makes a huge impression on me. But like these people, and it's like a 4.5 star rating, and then you're reading it and you're like, why does it have such a good rating? Like, this is bewildering to me. But then I keep reading it and I'm like, I mean, I'm reading it. So, right? Like, who am I to judge, right? But like, and a lot of it's like self-published. But there's also a lot of really good ones on there that I feel are underrated as well. So,
and the rating system is so like subjective. It's like my 4 could be somebody else's 5 and somebody else's 3. Like,
yeah,
it kind of means nothing because it's not, there's no standardization.
So do you rate books?
I do. Yeah. I have a Storygraph account and I'm kind of behind now. I think I'm like, I don't know, a month behind on putting my reads in there, but
I don't even have a Storygraph account. So what to you is a 3-star book?
To me, a 3-star book is, it was good, but it wasn't great. Like, it was just I enjoyed it. It didn't offend me in any way, but it also didn't excite me. You know? It's like vanilla. I know some people love vanilla, but
fine.
Yeah. It's just used as that kind of like base. It's the base.
Okay.
Anything good.
Below 3 stars, and it's like, I do not recommend this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, it wasn't for me. Like, I feel like if it's in the 2-star range, it's kind of like, it wasn't for me, but it might be for you. Like, it just wasn't my vibe. And then if you're getting into the 1 star, it's like, I'm not sure I could recommend this to anybody.
Okay.
But I also don't want to offend the person who put a lot of time and effort into this.
Okay.
You know? Like, I don't think I would ever rate anything below a 3. I think if it's getting into that category, I just wouldn't rate it. Because I don't want to...
It's kind of like, if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. But for me, a 3-star is like very similar to yours, but almost to like your 2-star thing, where I would like give it a 3-star. I'm like, it was fine, but it's not my vibe. Mm-hmm. But it might be someone else's vibe. So 3 stars.
Yeah. And like, I do like the 3.25, 3.5 kind of thing. So like a solid 3 is probably like not really my vibe. Mm-hmm. And then like, if we're getting into like the 3.5, then it's like, it was good. It wasn't terrible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the flavorful vanilla versus like, you know, the cheap chemically vanilla.
Gotcha. Yeah. The stuff done with the actual vanilla bean.
Yeah. That's like a 3.75 is like real vanilla bean. And like your 3 is like your, you know, just very toxic chemical vanilla.
Your imitation vanilla.
Yeah. Imitation, that's the word. So that's our scale of 3.
Our vanilla scale of vanilla bean scales. Oh my gosh. We should totally like do a rating system with vanilla beans.
We should. Not to be confused with the chili flakes. Like,
right.
We have to make sure they look vanilla bean. Yeah. Or maybe like the vanilla flowers, like the vanilla bean flour.
Yeah, then it could not be mistaken.
Yeah. You don't want to mistake vanilla and
this is really spicy, and it's like, no, this is extremely like high quality vanilla. Oh my gosh.
New thing.
Yeah.
We're going to see vanilla everywhere.
Yeah. But, you know, like a 4-star rating for me is like, this book was awesome. Like, this was an awesome, awesome book. I recommend it. 5 stars, like, it blew me out of the water. It's like my favorite book. It like goes into the Hall of Fame of best books I've ever read. So like a 5-star rating for me wouldn't be given that often.
Oh, I hardly ever give 5 stars. I think last year I gave like 2.
Yeah.
Like, for me to give a 5-star, I'm like, this is perfection. Mm-hmm. There no notes.
Yeah.
Full stop. You did it.
Yeah.
So, and then a 4 is like, I loved it.
Yeah. I can think of, like 2 titles I read last year. And I read quite a few books last year, but like just 2 of them stand out to me. And I guess those would be the ones I would give the 5 stars to, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's weird because it's like, I feel like, the most common ratings, if I were to rate them, would be 3 and 4 stars. And then anything ranging in between that. And then I guess also like you've got the 4, 4.25, 4.5.
Yeah. I give a lot of like 4.5s, even 4.75. I'm like, I like almost think this is perfect. Yeah. But like there'll be like 1 or 2 things. Like if a book is like really, really incredible, and I'm like, at the end, I'm like, oh my goodness, I enjoyed that. But it like took me a really long time to read. I'm like, I can't give it that 5-star because I'm like, it didn't grab me the whole time.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. Like if it's not something you're like, oh, I really can't wait to finish this. Mm-hmm. But like, then I think about, I used to be really into just sort of like the small town, like sort of, I want to say almost like romances. They're just kind of like feel good, kind of Debbie McComber, Nora Roberts, like, and not that Nora Roberts only does that. She has a huge range. She's very talented. Just kind of like a more chill vibe. But I also felt like even though it's not like necessarily grabbing you by the collar and like pulling you along for the ride, they can still be so like unputdownable, even if it's not an adrenaline fueled narrative, I feel.
Well, no, sometimes it's just something just like sits with you and you're just like, I get this. I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on what it
Yeah.
is. Like, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's the mood you're in. If you're in the right mood for that style of book, you're just
Mhm.
going to eat it up. But if you're not in that headspace,
I think I know what it is. It suddenly occurred to me. I think it honestly has a lot to do with the writing and how good of a visual storyteller, at least for myself personally, that the author is. If their writing flows in a way that I've got the movie going on in my mind, for me it's hard to put down. If it's
yes.
jarring and the writing's not very good, it's very easy for me to walk away from.
hmm And I think that could be different for each person. For me, I find if the book is not written in a way that I tend to speak in, like if the sentences to me are like I would not have said that sentence in that way, like it's awkward for me to read the sentence because I would have said it differently.
Maybe it
I
doesn't seem like realistic dialogue then, and that takes
yeah.
you out of the moment.
I find that just like really slows down my
Mhm.
reading. Yeah, it like takes me out of the moment.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But then that's such like a personal thing. Like I can't expect everyone to cater to my preferred way of saying
No, but if
things.
it's taking you out of the moment like that, you have to think it's taking other people out of the moment as well. And so I would think like yes, you have your personal preferences, but if you've caught it, there's a good chance that a lot of other people have also been taken out of the moment. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't think it's something to kind of like shut yourself down about. It's not just your personal preference. It might actually be that like that could have been done a little better.
Yeah, true.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have for you today on this episode of Books and Bevvies. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.
If you have any bookish questions you would like us to discuss, please leave them in the comment section down below, and we hope that you will be joining us next time.